So then, without any further delay, we're going to have a presentation from ScholarCHIPS. So Yasmine Arrington Brooks is here, and your group, Yasmine, if you want to come up, and we'll get you set up.
So without further ado, I would like to open up the floor and have each of you to briefly introduce yourselves, your name, your preferred pronouns, where you're from or grew up, what college you currently go to or graduated from, and for those of you who are in law school or graduate school, mention that as well, and your major. Mick?
Hello, my name is Mick Guile from PG County, Maryland. I honestly forgot what she told me to put in my introduction, so I'm just going to put in stuff that I think is important. I use any pronouns, mostly they, them. I graduated from Temple University this past May with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Yeah, very right. But I was a criminal justice major with minors in Japanese and psychology. I'm now a first-year law student at University of Maryland Francis King Carey School of Law. And I also have a final on Monday, but, but I'd much rather be here. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Aijana Savage. I'm originally from New Jersey, but I now reside in Baltimore, Maryland. That's where I've been raised. My pronouns are she and her. I attend the University of Maryland College Park. I'm currently majoring in criminology and criminal justice, and I'm minoring in law and society, and hopefully follow with Nick.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Amir Hood. I go by my pronouns he, him. I currently attend Ross College in Atlanta, Georgia. Finance major in the pre-law track, and I'm from Southeast DC.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jermekio Holloway. I'm also he, him. I graduated from Southern University in A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana as a social work undergrad major. What else? Yes, I take pride in working in my community and just living and being in Southeast Washington, D.C. That's where I was born and raised. And thanks for having me here today.
Good morning, my name is Althea Guevara. I attend, my pronouns are she, her. I attend Virginia Commonwealth University. I was raised in Woodbridge, Virginia, and my major is cinema and post-production editing.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tiana Durant. My pronouns are she and her. I attended Virginia Union University where I majored in psychology, just graduated last May. I currently am getting my master's in speech pathology at the University of Maryland College Park, and I am from PG County.
So please share, if each of you would be, if you feel comfortable, of course, you know you don't have to answer any questions you don't feel comfortable answering. Only share what you want to share and what you feel led to share. So please share which of your parents is either currently incarcerated or formerly incarcerated, and how long they had been incarcerated for.
Okay. So my dad has been incarcerated since 2002. I was born 2001. He has been in since then. His earliest release date is 2027. Max release date is 2052. He's in Michigan.
So my father is formerly incarcerated. He did about 3 years when I was about 5 years old. Recently he did he did 5 years when I was 5 years old. Recently he did another 3 years when I was 13. But he's been in and out since then. Total through my lifetime, about 10 years.
My mother was formerly incarcerated for about 2 years. My father was incarcerated for 14 years. He came home in 2020, and I believe like August he just went back to prison, so for 5 years.
Well, my dad was incarcerated since like I was born until about 2009, and then he was incarcerated again my senior year in high school, 2017, and yeah, he's been incarcerated ever since then.
So my father was incarcerated when I was born as well. I believe he got 20 and he did 14, and he is in Oklahoma, I think.
My father was formerly incarcerated. He was incarcerated when I was born, and he got out in 2008 when I was 8 years old. And also my granddad and my uncle are currently still incarcerated, and they have long times. I have no idea how long.
And if we could start from going reverse from Tiana back down to Mick, when, if you can recall when, like either maybe the year or about how old you were when you first found out that your parent was incarcerated, and how did you find out?
Okay, so 8 years old. I was just in the room playing with my toys. My mom comes in there and she's like, she got a little book in her hand. I'm like, I have a book. She's like, so I have to talk to you. I'm like, huh? She was like, so you have another dad? I'm looking at her like, huh? Because my stepdad was around ever since I was born, so I thought he was my dad the whole time. I didn't know. So I'm like, huh? You have another dad? She was like, yeah. He's been incarcerated since you were born. She basically started showing me all these pictures. And she's like, I don't know how you're feeling right now, but he's out and he wants to meet you. So basically we had, talked about it. It took me a couple days, so I'm still like, another dad? How do I have two dads? How does that even work? So I was super nervous. I never gave her an answer for about a week or so. She was like, he's still asking, he wants to see you. I'm like, okay, if he's my dad, then yes. So we had set up a visit to see him, but I was 8 and my mom just sat me down and showed me pictures.
So I was 5, I believe. No one told me. I found out by what we all know, this is a correctional call from Enter Facility here. And, they say your first and last name, and I was like, yes, my last name. That's weird. I was alone. I took it because I was a child. And that's the first time I ever heard his voice. He said, hi, I'm your father. And I was like, oh, I have one of those? I grew up with a single mother, so it was just something that never occurred to me. And then after that, I told my mom, and she told me, yes, you have an incarcerated father in Oklahoma.
Well, mine was, I was 17 years old. He just recently got incarcerated when I was 17. I was a senior in high school. I was on my way to school, and I found out in the newspaper. And I kind of found out first because I told my mom, and she just couldn't believe it. She just hung up and started calling all of our family, and then caseworkers at the school, the social worker at the school, they were just flooding me with like, are you okay? And do you know what's going on? And I kind of act like I didn't know what was going on at school, but I already read the newspaper, and I'm like, no, what's going on? So on top of that, I just came back from West Africa. I was studying abroad in the college enrichment program. So I just came back, and this was like the first day back. Actually, I went to school after I had a day of rest, and yeah, everything was just so chaotic. But I just had to make sure I kept my composure and things like that, because I was in 12th grade at the time, so I kind of understood. Everybody understood what was going on, so it was, difficult in that area.
The first time I found out my father was incarcerated, I just found out by the phone, like the jail phone calls. So I was able to adapt to that. The time I found out my mother was incarcerated, I came home from school and I went to my grandmother's house and I seen my grandmother crying. And so me and my brother, we asked her, what's wrong with my mom? So she told us, your mom just got locked up. And so I already knew how that felt because my father already locked up. So it made me and my brother feel some sort of way. Well, that was really, I just came from school and I was told that she called and I talked to my mom.
So my story's a little different. Like a lot of parents that have had a partner that's been incarcerated and that have a child, they're unsure if they want to take that child to go visit that person, especially at such a young age. Like I said, I was 5 years old. And my mom was debating with that a lot. So I only visited my father one time during those 5 years because she thought it would be too traumatic for me, which it was. That's the earliest memory I have of my dad, is being behind that glass wall and having to talk over the phone. And then the most recent time that he was incarcerated, I found out through a phone call from my brother. My dad still resides in New Jersey, where I was born, and they said that the house was raided and that they took my dad and he was incarcerated again. I was about 13. I was in middle school at that time, and it was very, very traumatic. And yeah, that's how I found out the last time.
My story is a lot more. It's just kind of since he was in since I was 1. So I just sort of like grew up with it as a fact of life. Like, you know, like you kind of have like this idea of when your memories start as a child. Like when I found out that he was incarcerated, it was before that. So it's always just been like a fact of life for me. Like I do remember like when I first learned how to spell my name, not Mick, like my government name, which was much longer and much harder for like a 4-year-old. I remember I learned how to spell it. And then I had my mom call like all my aunts and my grandmother, and I was like, okay, now call daddy. And she was like, oh, we can't do that. I was like, oh, is that how it works? Like he can, we always spoke on the phone, but I didn't realize that it was only when he could call. But I did go to visit him a lot, so like, I went more when I was younger. I haven't been to see him since 2019 because Michigan is like stupid far. But I grew up like having memories of I knew where he was at.
Some of you already answered this question, so I'll skip down and come back. It's just kind of twofold. If any of you have visited your parent in prison or received a phone call from prison, how did you feel going through that experience? Some of you kind of touched on it already, but if you want to go a little bit, for those of you who haven't shared, or if you want to go a little bit below the surface, or writing letters. Whether it's handwritten letters or JPEG, that kind of thing. And how has having an incarcerated parent affected you and your family?
Like I said, I went to go visit him a lot. As I got older, I realized how like terrible it was. Like it's like, especially up in like rural Michigan, like it's a lot of black men incarcerated with a lot of white men working in a very rural, like not very conservative area. So it was like they didn't want us to visit, basically. Like I remember when I was a kid, there was some issue with my birth certificate, and they were like trying to imply that it was like a forgery or something. They're like, oh, it's not real. It doesn't have like this thing on it. You can't see him. My grandmother was crying. I was like 7. I didn't know what was going on. And then when we went my senior year of high school in 2019, and then she was like they were like, oh, like my grandmother, they said, oh, you're wearing leggings, like. You can't. I wouldn't even say they were leggings. They were just like sort of like some skinny, like maybe they were leggings, whatever. But they were like they were kind of leggings. But they were like, oh, you can't wear leggings. Like we can't have women wearing leggings in the facility because the men. I was like, she's like 70. Like it was like so bizarre. And then like a brief aside, like my grandmother still thinks that my dad is her baby. And maybe he is, but she tried to smuggle some toilet paper in after a bathroom break because his nose was running, and she thought that the paper towels that they had in the visiting room were too scratchy. So I was like, Grandma, you can't do that. They're probably gonna kick us out. Like, she was like, oh no, it's fine. It's just toilet paper. And I was like, okay. So then we went back into the room getting patted down. It's like actually crazy. It's like worse than TSA. And like we were getting patted down, and they found the toilet paper, and they were like, ma'am, you can't do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna send this back to Maryland. Thankfully they didn't, but it's a very hostile environment, and it kind of feels like when you're trying to communicate with your loved one, it's like the whole system is working against you. Like I do a video visit, stuff won't, like the CEO won't show up to check me in. He gets on the phone, all of a sudden the CEO is calling him in, JPay's shut down, like just stuff that you're trying to get your way.
I'm gonna agree with Mick. They make it very, very, very difficult for you to see your loved one. My dad was in New Jersey, so I had to travel from Baltimore to New Jersey, and I feel like every single time I got up there was something wrong. Birth certificate's wrong, this isn't on it, that's not on it, your outfit's incorrect, you can't wear that. And it was like, okay, 2 hours